young men, they would go out in the woods and they would listen to the animals and to the birds, and they would try and mimic the animals. Now, I'm going to do something. I want you to see if you can tell what kind of animal this is. Now, I have another very special flute. Look at this flute.
That's huge. What is it made from?
It's made out of a wood called ebony. And ebony is from Africa. Now, I'm going to see if I can make this sound and see if you can tell me what kind of animal this sounds like. Oh, here we go. I can't do it. I can't get the sound. Okay, here we go. Well. Here we go. Took me a minute. What kind of animal does that sound like? Right here.
Coyote.
A coyote. What else? Right here.
A wolf.
A wolf. Uh-huh. That's what it kind of sounds like to me. Like what? A bear? I don't know if I... Yeah. Way back here.
A moose.
A moose? Actually, maybe. What did I hear?
An owl.
An owl? What does an owl sound like? Maybe something like this. So I want to tell you, there are a lot of stories about how the Native Americans got these flutes. And I would like to take a couple of minutes to tell you about one of those stories. Now, many, many years ago, the people only had drums and rattles. They had no flutes. And during this age-old time, there was a certain village who was very hungry, for they did not have much food that season. So they would send out all their warriors and hunters to look for food. Now there was one particular warrior, one particular young hunter, that was new to hunting. Yet he had a new bow and arrow, but he was not very good at hunting. But yet he wanted to go out and find food for his village. Now, as he started looking, he saw tracks from an elk and started following those elk tracks. Now the elk has strong medicine. And anyone that possesses the elk medicine would be a great hunter and have the respect of his people. And so this young hunter started following these tracks. But it didn't matter how close that young hunter got to, he still could not get close enough to shoot at this particular elk. And the elk knew that, because the elk was wise and cunning. And he continually led this young warrior farther and farther away from home and higher into the mountains. And finally, at the end of the day, the young warrior realized that he was lost. The elk was gone, and so were the elk tracks. And so he decided to stay that night, because he knew he'd never find his way home in the middle of the night. So luckily he brought with him a little bit of food and a warm blanket. So he made a small campfire, ate his food, drank from the stream, and as he prepared to go to sleep, he took the robe and blanket and put it around his shoulders and sat down and propped himself up against a tree, and he closed his eyes. But sleep would not come, because there were strange animal noises in the night. The hoot of the owl. We've already tried that, haven't we? The cry of the wolf. And the breaking of the wind through the trees. But then there was an entirely new sound, a sound that he had never heard before. Now it was a very frightening sound, and so he pulled his bow and arrow close to him. But yet, on the other hand, it was like a melody full of yearning and love. And he listened to it again. And finally, he was able to go to sleep. And in his dreams, a red-headed woodpecker appeared to him and seemed to be talking to him, and he said, "Follow me and I will teach you, listen and you will learn." And when the young man woke up in the morning, he heard some rustling in the trees, and he looked up and it looked like that same red-headed woodpecker. And the woodpecker was going from tree to tree as if to follow me. And the young man remembered his dream, and he decided to follow the young woodpecker. And as he went down the mountainside, he again heard that beautiful yet frightening melody. And he yearned to meet the singer. But finally the woodpecker landed on a great tree. And when the young hunter got up closer to him, he saw what the woodpecker was doing. He was poking his beak on this branch like this. And as he got closer, a great wind came up, and he heard the sound again. And he realized where the sound was coming from. It was coming from a branch of this great tree. And so he climbed up the tree, and he pulled the branch off, and he said, "Woodpecker, give me this branch, and you can make another." And when he got down onto the ground, he looked at this branch and saw that it was dead, that on the inside that it was all hollow. And he had some strange looking holes, but realized the holes were made by what? Who made the holes? The woodpecker. And he realized that he had a wonderful find, even though he found no food. But he took this branch with him back to the village. And as he was walking into the village, people saw him and started running towards him because they thought he had food. But instead, what did he have? A big branch in his hand. And they were disappointed, and they wondered, how are they going to eat? We thought that you were bringing us food, but instead you brought us a branch. But he says, it sings! And he put the branch up to the wind. But there was no sound. Then he swung the branch around his head, and still no sound. And the people started to get angry at him. And they tried to grab the branch away from him. To do what? To break it and put it in the fire. But he broke away from the people and he ran up onto a hill that was close to the village. And he was very sad. He wondered, how come he could not make the branch sing? And so he prayed to find out. But as night came, he got tired and he went to sleep. And in his dreams, what appeared to him again? The red-headed woodpecker. But this time, the woodpecker turned into a man. And the man bird talked to this young warrior and showed him how to make the stick sing. And in the morning when the young man woke up, he remembered that dream. And he picked up the branch that he had next to him. And he remembered the instructions that the man bird told him. Put your fingers on the holes like this. Put your lips up to the mouthpiece and breathe. But all it did was squawk like a goose. But then he remembered, don't blow so hard. Just blow very softly. And then as he moved his fingers up and down the holes and listening to the birds and the animals, he was finally able to play his own little melody. And as the wind came up, it drew that melody down into the village. And people heard that sound, and some were frightened, yet others were curious. And so they followed the sound up to the hill, and there they saw a young man looking very strangely because he had a branch in his mouth. But yet they heard the wonderful melody that he was playing. And they all gathered around him and sat down next to him like you're doing today. And he played more beautiful melodies. And he realized at that point that he had the respect of his people. For some of them came up to him and asked him to forgive him, those that had tried to hurt him. And he knew that he had a beautiful gift that he should share. And he, even though he did not get an elk, he still had the respect of his people. And something very surprising is that some of the young ladies started winking at him like this. And that's how we got the flute. Do you believe that?
Yes.
I do. That's a great story. But how did we, back historically, when a young man wanted a flute so that he could play a flute for the woman that he loved, either he would make the